Guys, Daniel Ek just retired, and I'm worried that whoever succeeds him is not going to be as passionate about music as he was. Oh my god! Geese and Wednesday are two bands that put out albums the last 2 weeks. Geese put out an album this past Friday called Getting Killed. Wednesday the week before that. Wednesday the Friday before. And while these two bands from a distance might seem very similar as 2020 indie rock bands, trust me, if you take a step in, look at their individual qualities, they are even more similar. Both of their boys just put out big hits in 2024, and they're back. Cameron Winter and Mark Jacob Lenderman, more commonly known as MJ, both took the time to release solo albums in 2024, and if streaming data is to be believed, there is no reason for them to ever associate again with these dunces that they call their bandmates. Look at these numbers. Cameron's being respectful. He's still barely trailing 2023's 3D Country despite that album's year-long head start. Meanwhile, MJ versus Wednesday is a massacre. Wristwatch is out here almost triple lapping Quarry. By the way, Wristwatch is a song that I like very much, and it's not just because it features the Durham can opener, which I appreciate. It reminds me a lot of Billy Joel's Allentown. It just sounds like American manufacturing. The song doesn't have any train whistles or like hammer sound effects, but it might as well have in my mind. These two boys are getting on Kimmel on their lonesome. Boys, ditch the dead weight. It's time. I'm being facetious about all of this, which I'm only saying because this is my first YouTube video, so you don't really know how sarcastic I can get. But it does feel like over the past 60 years, there has been this tug of war between the solo artist and the band, that the solo artist has just been nudging over to its side. And over the past 15 years, it's just bands have fallen on their ass. It feels like if you are a new artist and you want to play stadiums and honestly even arenas, you gotta do it on your lonesome. You gotta be individual. I have a hypothesis that I like to think about with music, specifically pop music. I call it the Billie Eilish, Magdalena Bay hypothesis. And basically it states that if Billie Eilish, which as of right now is a pop duo consisting of Billy O'Donnell and Phineas O'Donnell, if that instead were a band and they pitched themselves as a band and they were called Galway Bay, hypothetically, that band would have less streams than the current solo artist known as Billie Eilish. Inversely, if Magdalena Bay, which is currently a band made up of Mika Tenenbaum and Matt Lewin, if they were just Mika Eilish, then they would see more streams. I'm not saying they would switch. I'm not saying that, but I am saying they would come closer to each other, right? I'm saying Billie Eilish as a band, it would be less successful. Magdalena Bay as a solo artist would be more successful. And you can choose your reasons as to why the solo artist is dominating right now. You know, hyper individualism or stan culture or whatever doesn't really matter because this has been moving this way for a while now. MJ, Beyonce, Timberlake, all of them moved on their own into a solo career. And guess what? They were better. They were better artists. They were better known. They were more successful. But Altamira, that's pop music. Jagger couldn't cut it without the Stones. Mercury couldn't cut it without Queen. Rock's different, right? You could point to both Peter Gabriel and Phil Collins of Genesis. They both went solo, and guess what? They became pop. They just embodied a new pop energy. I honestly think that the big difference between whether or not someone is rock or pop when it's a question is, are they in a band or not? I mean, Olivia Rodrigo pretty clearly takes a lot of inspiration from Paramore, but in the cultural consciousness, Paramore is a rock band and Olivia Rodrigo is a pop star. That's kind of the difference. And that's why rock is dead. Because rock is being in a band, and being in a band is financially irresponsible. But rock is also authentic. I think, like Petty and Springsteen were able to make it work as rock stars because I've been like nudging closer to this side. I'm going to move back so you can have all this empty space. Petty and Springsteen, they made it work by having backing bands that like named themselves. It wasn't Tom Petty or Bruce Springsteen. It's Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. It was Bruce Springsteen and their E Street Band. But I don't think you got to do that anymore. Look at Greep. Look at him. Look at Greep. He's doing great without Black Midi. But I do think that Winter and Lenderman are doing interesting things here by coming back to the band a little bit as opposed to flying the nest. Because, these are not unpopular bands. Wednesday and Geese are doing better than ever. They're doing better than ever. But I think there's an interesting part of it that's I think they're doing better than ever because these two boys went out and did their own thing and then came back. Their solo careers are helping them get some audience members so that they can go out and pick berries and put them in their basket labeled Geese or Wednesday. The reception to the new Geese album is kind of shocking to me because I knew that it would be a hit. I didn't think it would be this much of a hit. I was excited about the album because that's oomph. You know what I'm saying? But I didn't think so many people would be so pumped about it. And I think they're pumped about it because they know about Cameron Winter now. And they're excited to hear about the next Cobain / Lennon / York / Casablanca / whatever of the 2020s, of Gen Z. It's not a strategy because Cameron Winter himself said that he thought that solo album would do terribly. But it is an interesting thing. The reason why they're actually doing it is because they want to make two different types of music and they have their band and their solo albums and they fulfill different creative projects. That's why. But inadvertently, Wednesday and Geese are now two of the top indie bands that we know about in the year 2025 because of the success of these two guys. MJ Lenderman doesn't even sing in the freaking band. He only plays guitar. But I kind of like the idea of there being something purposeful here that can be replicated, with regard to rock. Because I want rock to live and thrive and be financially successful. And I don't want country to be the heel to pop anymore. Rock is the heel to pop. Country is not the heel to pop, but it's become that way because we screwed up somewhere. What I'm saying is that Kevin Parker needs to start making new music under his own name. Because this new stuff he's releasing is not Tame Impala. It's Kevin Parker music. There's a difference. That's been Thought Reverb with Altamira. This series is not a series yet. It's basically just a ripoff of Delayed Input with Kyle Bossman. But I hope you liked it. I might do more of it in the future whenever I have something to say about music. Thank you. So I released a single on October 3rd called Pacifier. Go check it out on streaming services. And it just got me thinking about New Music Friday because I like New Music Friday. I like that there's a day where we can all kind of gather around the campfire and enjoy music together as a community. I do think it's a bit crowded. And I was thinking, how do we make this less crowded? How do we feel about New Album Friday and New Single Tuesday? I'm just spitballing here because I was I don't want to have to go up against Taylor Swift. I don't want to have to do that, but they're making me because I got to release on Friday. I gotta fit in. But I don't know. What do y'all think?